On today's show, we go on the local scene to visit Pilgrim Festival Chorus, take a guided walk through Leyden Street, hear original poetry, and talk about upcoming things to do in our area. We're glad you're here. Let's get started. Explore the trimmings of celebrating the season with Plymouth's 16th annual Holiday House Tour on Saturday, December 7th. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., tour a selection of festively adorned private Plymouth homes, guided by the informative program booklet, and enjoy treats at every stop along the way. This anticipated annual event and fundraiser is hosted by Pilgrim Hall Museum, and you can reserve your tickets to these delightfully decorated domiciles through the museum's website or by emailing membership@pilgrimhallmuseum.org. Who better than Dr. Donna Curtin, Executive Director of Pilgrim Hall Museum, to take us on a guided walk through Leyden Street in Plymouth, Mass., established in 1620.
We're here at the gateway of some of Plymouth's earliest history at Leyden Street. This street has been known in the past as the Great Street or the First Street, and it was one of the earliest streets laid out in the community of Plymouth. Of course, we also have to recognize this area was earlier the village of Patuxet and the homelands of the Wampanoag people. There was a thriving community here before the Pilgrims arrived, and this street may even have been an original pathway of the indigenous people before the arrival of the Pilgrims in 1620. Leyden Street is intimately associated with the history of the Mayflower Pilgrims. Remember, they were exploring along the coast after sighting land at Cape Cod in November of 1620. They arrived here in Plymouth and determined this was the place in December, and immediately decided they would apportion lots of land to the 19 family groups represented on the ship so that these families could start building shelter for themselves. They needed to protect themselves against the elements, and also many of the passengers had begun to fall sick. So providing a place for them to care and tend for one another was critical. One of the first shelters that they built was a common house. This was to be used for the common good of the colony. Those early shelters built here on Leyden Street were really essential to the survival of those that made it. Why did the Pilgrims decide to settle here in Plymouth? Along their explorations, one of the important things they were looking for is good water, and they found that here aplenty. There was the town brook, a wonderful waterway that would offer them both fish and drinking water, and multiple springs of water that the early settlers described as fair, sweet, and delicious. To them, it was almost as good as the beer that they would prefer to drink. Why was Leyden Street laid out here? Well, its proximity to their source of water was a help. But another feature of the street is that it is laid out on a steep incline. We are going to go up the hill. And for the early settlers, that hill offered them another way to protect and defend the early settlement. They mounted their ordnance, their cannons, on the top of the hill, and an early visitor to Plymouth described the street as being a cannon shot in length. Part of the topography of Leyden Street is the steep slope along its north and eastern corner, which is today known as Coles Hill. You see this beautiful empty grassy slope behind me. Well, Leyden Street was laid out and lived in by the Mayflower passengers, but their descendants continued to build on the street over time. So there were houses here in the late 17th, in the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries. And the character of the street changed during those later generations. At one point, where I'm standing right now, there were many little buildings cut into the hillside. There were homes and shops, and one of them was actually a popular destination in the late 19th century for early tourists to Plymouth, called the Old Curiosity Shop. People would come to meet its rather unique proprietor, Winslow Brewster Standish, an old local with Mayflower roots, and he would sell them souvenirs and antiques. 19th century, the Pilgrim Society, my organization that owns Pilgrim Hall Museum, had begun to acquire a lot of the property on Coles Hill because they wanted it to be a commemorative and memorial space to their ancestors, to the Mayflower history of the town. And so they began purchasing these buildings and eventually tore them down, demolished them in order to preserve the hillside itself. The brick end house behind me, the Joseph Tribble House, constructed about 1794, rests on the lots where some of those early Pilgrim structures had been erected early in the colony's history. Their common house, for example, and their storehouse were once on this area, but those buildings did not survive over time. They were torn down and replaced by the buildings of later generations, including this lovely late 18th century home. We're here on the corner of Carver Street, which connects with Leyden Street right up ahead here. And also, there's an interesting feature that is rather distinctive to Plymouth from its colonial days, and that is an alleyway. We're here at the corner of LeBaron Alley. Behind me is the house that was built in 1832 by Captain James Bartlett. He was one of the first Plymouth mariners to invest in the whale fishery in Plymouth. He put together a vessel to go out on a 3-year voyage to go after the whales, and they returned with thousands of barrels of very valuable and precious cargo, that whale oil. Religious motivations were important to some of the early colonists that settled Plymouth and laid out Leyden Street. But they actually had some difficulty finding a minister in the early years of the colony, and it really wasn't until the 18th century that Plymouth developed a stronger ministry. One of those important figures was the Reverend Chandler Robbins, who built the house behind me in 1778. He served as minister of Plymouth's First Church for 40 straight years. So on Leyden Street, there's layer upon layer of history. We're at the site of where the spiritual leader of early Plymouth colony, Elder Brewster's original Mearstead and garden plot was assigned, and where his home was when he lived in Plymouth colony. And over time, of course, that 17th century building did not survive and was replaced by a number of different structures. And in the early 20th century, with the current building, our federal United States Post Office building, made of brick on the corner. Now, behind the post office building was another lot, and that had a home erected in 1703. It is now a vacant area. You can't see that building anymore, but it was erected by Plymouth's first French resident. This was a shipwrecked Frenchman, Dr. Francis LeBaron, who shipwrecked off Cape Cod in 1694, but built a beautiful and stately mansion right here in Leyden Street in 1703. Sadly, that building did not survive. It was torn down, replaced with a number of different structures, and is today a parking area behind the post office. Leyden Street leads up the hill into historic Town Square, featuring some of the church buildings of Plymouth, the inheritors of Plymouth's earlier churches, and also its earliest surviving colonial era courthouse, the 1749 courthouse, today a museum with all kinds of local artifacts in it. And behind us, you see even steeper and higher the incline of Burial Hill, which was originally called Fort Hill. That's where those cannons were placed to create the long cannon shot from the top of the hill all the way down out into the harbor. That is the length of Leyden Street. Many visitors to Plymouth will walk along historic Leyden Street, following in the footsteps of all those generations that have come before, and their journey culminates here at historic Burial Hill. This was used early in the colony's history as a graveyard for those early settlers. Not the very first, but sometime soon in the colony's beginning, we know it was used that way, and for every generation since, until the last interment occurred in the 1950s. And it wasn't until 1824 that we came to know it as Leyden Street. Why was the name changed at that time? It's because Plymouthians had started at the time of their bicentennial year in 1820 to take a greater interest in their own history and connect with it and find meaning in it. And at that point, they thought, rather than a more generic name for this main thoroughfare and this historic roadway in Plymouth, that it should have something of historical significance in its name. And they named it Leyden Street to reflect the years that those early Mayflower settlers had spent in the Low Countries in exile before deciding to cross the ocean and come here to America. So Leyden Street, it's been known as ever since. And here, at the end point of our tour up Leyden Street, we find at every pace and every step our connections to the generations that have come before us. This can be deeply meaningful for visitors to Plymouth who are searching for their lineage roots, but it's also meaningful to every single person who takes a step here in our historic downtown and realizes we are literally following in the footsteps of those that come before. What are their stories? What do we have to learn from them? These are the things that we continue to explore.
Blossom in the art of flower arrangement and create something beautiful for the holiday season by joining Christine Malorano from the Kingston Garden Club at the Kingston Public Library on Tuesday, December 3rd from 6 to 7 p.m. During this holiday floral centerpiece workshop, each participant will use flowers and other seasonal flourishes to create their own centerpiece for proud display during the upcoming festivities. This program welcomes all skill levels and will be held at the Font School at 16 Green Street. Register via the Kingston Public Library website. Explore the scandals, mysteries, and human stories behind the Hope Diamond, Star of Asia Sapphire, the Carmen Lucia Ruby, the Hooker Emerald, and the Blue Heart Diamond on December 4th from 2 to 3 p.m. in the Duxbury Free Library virtual event, Unearthed, exploring the Smithsonian National Gem Collection with Dr. Jeffrey Post. During this webinar, the author and emeritus curator of the Smithsonian National Gem Collection will take you inside the vaults to extract the truth from the fiction about these storied, shimmering dazzlers. Mind the link to register on the Duxbury Library website calendar. Have a holly jolly craft class using wool roving and eco-friendly materials to make your own holly ornament. Instructors from the Pop Art School will be at the Pembroke Public Library leading a holiday-themed needle felting class for adults on Tuesday, December 10th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Convening in the meeting room, this craft event is perfect for beginners and beyond. Register via the library's website. Start your Thanksgiving with an historic stroll through colonial history with the Spirit of Plymouth Walking Tours, when you will walk in the footsteps of the Mayflower Pilgrims through downtown Plymouth in an hour-long guided tour. Stand upon some of early Plymouth's sites of significance, learn what drew these brave souls to the New World and why they chose this area to settle. Visit the See Plymouth website for the ticket link. Rates are discounted for seniors, veterans, active duty, and first responders. Brunch is more than a meal, it is a lifestyle. On Saturday, December 14th, all are welcome to the Duxbury Senior Center's annual holiday brunch celebrating the LGBTQ community. Come to enjoy a scrumptious quiche served along with bacon, muffins, pastries, coffee, and tea, accompanied by the festive mood, live entertainment, and excellent company. For our gluten-free and vegetarian friends, there will be delicious options available for you too. The brunch runs from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the Ellison Large side of the Duxbury Senior Center. Register through the Senior Center's website. Next up is poet Bill Arienti in a reading of his original work.
Good evening. My name is Bill Arienti. I only have one creation of mine here tonight, but it needs a little bit of an explanation and a build-up. I was a Quincy firefighter for 32 years, until the day I died, literally. The valve in my heart got stuck in the open position. I went from, hey, how you doing, to being on the ground, not knowing anything. I woke up a few minutes later with injuries to my face, but I hit the ground so hard that it closed the valve and brought me back to life. That's the first part of it. After I went to the Mass General for 3 weeks and got out, I was called about a week and a half later to go again to the Mass General. They wanted to see me in there in a hurry, so I went. The poem will explain why. But one thing that I did other than being a firefighter is I worked for South Shore Hospital in the emergency department, where I would often take people, usually elderly, very sick, and I hate to say it, but I would go to the last ride, whether it be to a nursing home, a hospice, or their home. And in that time, I was able to garner more life experience than ever imaginable. So with that, I'll start my poem. I ask for your patience because I just had cataract surgery and my new glasses haven't come in yet. So I'm having a little bit, but hopefully I'll be able to discern. With solemn eyes and a downward stare, the words from his mouth were slowly cast. The discomfort he felt sharing this information was evident, no matter how many times he had done so in the past. After many examinations and countless tests, there was no doubt about the conclusion. In my body was a disease that may soon take my life. Of this fact, I should have no illusion. But what came next seemed to astound him. A reply no other cancer patient had ever could relate. When told the cancer I have may be terminal, my response was, well, I guess I'll lose some weight. For what the doctor didn't know was a history of my past, with the many people who shared their outlook of their final days. To their words I listened with absolute attentiveness on how to view life in many different ways. It was from them I learned that the cancer was not always a curse, but has the ability to make a dark horizon bright, to allow one to see the world's most wondrous gifts with the illumination of a completely different light. To better appreciate the flavor of a sumptuous meal with an Italian wine one can truly savor. To laugh with a reckless abandon at things we would once suppress and spend time with those with whom we favor. To look into the eyes of those you love and without any hesitation, to tell them how much their love means to you, then embrace them in your arms without reservation. Cancer takes our lives, sometimes with tremendous pain, but sometimes offers us a second chance to live out those things in life we often delayed, and to use it to our own lives' enhance. In life, only this very moment is guaranteed, for no one knows what the next moment may bring. So use each moment wisely and share it with cherished enjoyment, and never pass up the opportunity to laugh, to love, dance, or sing. Thank you very much.
America's hometown Thanksgiving parade and celebration is a much anticipated and beloved weekend of festivities celebrating the blessings of the past year. Rooted in the traditional stories of the first ever Thanksgiving, locals and travelers from all over look to Plymouth as the epicenter of all things Thanksgiving. Opening ceremonies this year begin at 9:30 a.m. on November 23rd at Pilgrim Memorial Park on Water Street, followed by the lively parade featuring floats bringing the stories of history to life, from pilgrims and native peoples to soldiers, patriots, and pioneers. Launching at 10 a.m. from Plymouth Rock, the parade will continue around Water Street to Main Street to Court Street and end at Benny's Plaza at 179 Court Street. From 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., the waterfront will have a banquet of fun things to do, including a craft beer and wine garden, a children's pavilion, a food truck alley, an historic village, living historians, and the Native American Pavilion. That evening, don't miss the National Senior Alumni Drum and Bugle Corps reunion at Memorial Hall at 6:30 p.m. For more information, visit usathanksgiving.com. The Hornblower Visitor Center at the Plymouth Patuxent Museum will be the setting for the museum's Winter Fine Arts and Crafts Fair on Saturday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Peruse the offerings of over 70 featured artisans and enjoy multiple live performances in a uniquely beautiful shopping experience. This year's event rings in the festive gift-giving season, offering an array of unique handmade gifts, decorations, and fine art made by local, independent crafters, as well as hands-on demonstrations to enjoy around every corner. The Plymouth Patuxent Museum is located at 137 Warren Avenue. Kingston Parks and Rec is offering a holiday gift-making workshop for Santa's Little Helpers in grades K through 2. Each week from December 3rd through the 17th, Mrs. Collins and Miss Snow will be at the Kingston Elementary School, featuring a fun craft for kids to make and give as gifts to friends and family for the holidays. This Tuesday, after-school class runs from 3:10 to 4:15 p.m. and is $100 per child, which includes all materials and supplies. Little crafters should bring their own snack and drink. Visit the Kingston Parks and Recreation website to register. Next up is Tiff Phillips with more of what's happening in our area.
December 3rd is the next First Tuesday with Plymouth Pride, and they're having something special planned. Come and find out what it is. This monthly gathering for LGBTQIA+ adults inspires fellowship and found family. Meet new friends and socialize with those you already know. Play games, nibble on snacks, do crafts, and so much more every month at the Plymouth Public Library from 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. Plymouth Pride always has open arms for new people and new ideas. We went on the local scene with Pilgrim Festival Chorus.
Pilgrim Festival Chorus is a nonprofit volunteer South Shore premier community chorus. We are based in Plymouth. We have 100 singers from 20 local communities. We have an age span from age 20 to 90 in our chorus. And we have diverse backgrounds. We have veterinarians, scientists, business owners, parents, grandparents, teachers, professional musicians. Our mission is to present diverse choral works which engage, educate, and enrich both its members and its audiences.
PAC began 25 years ago when we found that there was a large group of people that wanted to reform a community chorus. There was the Old Colony Choral Society before that, but Liz Riley and I, who had worked together for a number of years at the Church of the Pilgrimage, decided that we needed to start something. And so we found people who were like-minded. They wanted to form a board and to do all the things that are necessary to make a 503c nonprofit, and to make this into something that was going to build and last.
We have grown exponentially since COVID. Right after COVID, 45 singers dared to come back and sing in masks. We are at 100 now. And with our growth, also our performances have grown. Because of our large numbers, we have a huge sound. And we sing most of our concerts at St. Bonaventure Parish in Plymouth, which has wonderful acoustics. And we sing with orchestra every spring, and we've done masterworks and major works that are so exciting in other languages. We just did the Brahms German Requiem in German the past spring. People expect quality from us, and it's really something that we can deliver.
The thing that's special about a performance is really looking out at the crowd and seeing their engagement with us and seeing their smiles. And even if they know the songs, they sing along. And just hearing the group around me sing. It's a wonderful experience. Hard to describe unless you're in the group. It's a completely different feel from being out in the audience. And it's just wonderful.
Okay, right, so it's Our concert programs are chosen largely when Liz and I sit together at Panera Bread, and we find really, really great pieces of music. And sometimes it's all Liz's ideas, sometimes it's all my ideas, and that's the best part about having a collaborative sort of a relationship. That it's not just all falls on one person. It's our programs are chosen really, really carefully to the capabilities of the group, how many people we have in the group, what the level of the accomplishment is. But at the same time, we're at a point right now where we can do things that are really, really very, very difficult. We just got off doing the Brahms German Requiem, Johannes Brahms German Requiem, which was not every little choir, community choir can take on a piece like that, because it's huge and it's with a big orchestra and it's in German and it's fugues and all kinds of stuff. And so we have Liz and I have a great deal of fun doing that. We've done music from all kinds of areas. We've done music from different eras, and this is one where all of the composers are British. Okay, so that's why it's from across the pond, and so this is pulling together some composers who are very, very contemporary, James Whitbourne and John Rutter, along with Gustav Holst, who was an English composer, and as well as Ralph Vaughan Williams, who passed away 30 years ago.
The 25th anniversary is such an interesting time because we look back on the first 25 years and reflect, but we also look forward to the next 25 years and beyond. Choral singing has been around for thousands of years, but it's really in America, the 20th century, where it's really exploded. And we want to ensure that choral music survives and thrives for the next 25 years and beyond. And we see evidence that this is going to keep going. So we nurture high school students. We invite them at no cost to our dress rehearsals so they have a behind the scenes experience and that they will join one day. So we see ourselves as multi-generational and want to nurture and foster that.
It means that we've put in a lot of work to build this organization into something which is meaningful, not only to me personally and to Elizabeth as well, but to the members of the group and also to the community. The community deserves to have a really, really fine chorus and a really fine orchestra, which they have, and all of the great music that lives in this community. And of course, we know about all the restaurants that have live music in town and all of those things, but this is something which is a little bit higher than that. The stakes are higher, the cost is higher, the investment is higher, but at the same time, it means a great deal to me, because this is something that we started 25 years ago, and I didn't really know if it was really going to last, but it's lasted and it's grown and it's gotten so much better.
It's an opportunity to experience something so much larger than yourself that you can't get in other settings. And people come together from all walks of life. They walk in the door on a Monday night for rehearsal, and we create this energy and this sound together that's really extraordinary. And then we walk out the door, we don't see each other again. We go back to our lives and we come back and do it again. And this is why people keep coming back. People want to be part of this. People are hungry for an experience like this that they can't get in other parts of their lives.
People should join because it's not only is it a great group, it's a great group of friends. We all kind of come together and get to know each other well. And if you enjoy singing, this is a great group to join. We're one of the one of the best in the South Shore, if I do say so myself. And it's just a wonderful experience. Everyone has a core memory of music they love and enjoy. And so hearing one of our concerts, I think will bring that to them, and it'll bring that joy in their life.
We want our audiences to walk out and feel transformed. We want them to feel joy. We want them to feel uplifted that they came. They might have been tired and thought, oh, I have to go to a concert. But they walk out and they're energized. And we see it. We see it from the standing ovations we get. We see it and hear it from the cheering at the end of our performances. Sometimes we're very taken back by that people are cheering a classical performance of music. And although it's not always classical, but some of our larger works have been. And that energizes us, and it is a complete community experience for all of us.
I hope the audience takes away awe, because this is what this concert will bring. The concert has in it 6 brass players, 2 percussionists, a flautist, a cello, and in a gorgeous, gorgeous space. And so if people go away going, I can't believe what I just heard, that's what I want people to come away with. And the best part is that the people in the group say, I can't believe what we just did. I can't believe how wonderful that was and how that made me feel. So I want the audience to feel awe, and I want the singers to feel something which is really, really special that they've accomplished.
Thank you, Tiff. And that, my friends, wraps this episode of What's Good and Good to Know in our area. Thank you for watching.
And we want to thank our patrons, Tiny & Sons, Quintal Brothers, and Squinty's Pizza for supporting our mission of community in action through media.
We'll see you on the local scene. For more of what's good and good to know on the South Shore of Massachusetts, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for watching.